Hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm going to be testing World of Tanks 1.0 on the GeForce GTX 1050 Ti. For performance monitoring, I'll be using Chem. If you want to download the software, there's a link down in the description. So World of Tanks 1.0, I'll be doing 1080p, 1440p and 4K. To skip none of those sections of the video, check the description below. So well, first of all, I'll show you 1080p with the G4560 and maxed out graphics. So we're using the maximum settings except in motion blur, because motion blur in this game makes me just dizzy, unfortunately. And so far we're between 50 and 70 frames per second, depending on where we are. I usually feel like 50 frames per second is still smooth enough, so I see it like an ideal option for 1080p, just maxed out. But since we're not below 60 that often, I didn't see that as a 100% necessary measure to lower the settings. But if you want more consistent frame rates, that's the way to do it. Then I switched to the i3 8100 and I do once again 1080p max settings. I didn't see much of a difference with performance. So far it was a very similar experience. Both CPUs were able to maintain the GPU at 99% the majority of the time, so both CPUs are doing the job fine. Then I switched to 1440p and I show you how to get 45 to 60 frames per second, just tweak settings to have a smoother experience. Then I crank up the settings to the max to see what frame rate we get. And finally at 4K, I just show you my configuration to stay over the 30 frames per second as much as possible, since it was impossible to maintain 60 frames per second even at the lowest settings. It was quite unstable. It was just too demanding for the GPU, but still we can play at 4K with playable frame rates, so color me surprised. So now I'm going to talk to you about the options menu and my experience testing this game. So well, in the options menu, the options that I recommend lowering if you want better performance. First of all, anti-aliasing. If you turn it off, you get a very decent FPS boost. Then lighting quality. Just by lowering it one step down, you can already see a decent boost in performance as well. Then the draw distance and object LOD isn't a huge difference, but if you lower them in groups, it can be a little noticeable. Then the shadow quality option surprisingly didn't make much of a difference from ultra to the option below that. So if you want to lower shadows to have a performance boost, I recommend lowering it in groups with post-processing. That can usually give you a couple extra frames. Then vegetation quality and grass density can also give you a big performance hit if you keep it maxed out, so I recommend you lower those two together. And finally, on the extra effects quality, it can also give you an impact in performance. So yeah, those that I mentioned are usually the biggest hits. So yeah, so far there is a good options menu here. I really like what they did with all the options that we have. We even have like 6 options for terrain quality, which is kind of ridiculous, but it's there, always good to see. And the places where I got the biggest impact in performance was close to places with a lot of grass, a lot of trees, plus using the sniper mode. When you enter sniper mode, it can usually be a noticeable impact in performance, especially if you're zooming close to trees or some effects. For example, if there is a tank on fire and it's just blowing smoke up in the air, if in the sniper mode you're seeing the smoke and the fire, it can actually be a big performance hit. But you can lower the performance impact of sniper mode by just disabling terrain tessellation and grass into the sniper mode option. So when you're just aiming, the terrain tessellation and the grass is disabled, but once you stop using the sniper mode, it goes back to normal. You can do the same with the extra effects option. You have a different slider for how the effects are rendered when you're zooming in, which is always good to see. And that's very helpful with the situation I told you a second ago. But overall, the game was running way better than I expected, considering that there is a big improvement in graphics. But yeah guys, that's pretty much it. I hope you keep enjoying the video. Thanks for watching and see you next time.
Let's go. Time to roll.